when I got to DET-A, if you read Stick's book and some other things, you'll find out that DET-A had gone through some very bad times. And when I got there, thank you. Excuse me, I'm going to do Hillary right now. They had gone through some bad times. Because of a guy named Cater, who really, as Bob knows, Cater liked Special Forces NCOs, but he hated Special Forces officers. But anyway, when I got there, I talked to the team sergeants, talked to the team leader, talked to the commander, and of course, the endorser of the Sergeant Major's annual efficiency report was the Deputy Brigade Commander, who signed the commander's OER. So I said, I got to pay a courtesy call to him. So I paid the courtesy call. But in the meantime, I had found out from all the team sergeants, some of you are here right now, that you were teaching the 6th Infantry motor training, combo training, while their NCOs were standing in the back of the class with their hands behind their back or in their pocket. I said, I've been an NCO in the 1st Infantry Division and in the 25th Infantry Division. I have given basic training. Training is NCO's job. The NCO that is in charge of that soldier trains that soldier and goes to combat with that soldier. So I did the old Robin Sage thing with Colonel Pollard. Number one, establish rapport. We had both been infantrymen. I brought that up. So I said, don't you agree, sir, that training is non-commissioned officer's job, etc. Said, yes, I do. He said, then why are you undermining the authority of the non-commissioned officers in the 6th Infantry? Aren't they any good? Oh, yes, they're very good. I said, how am I undermining them? And I told him, by letting us do their training. While we're neglecting our own mission under 4304 and under 0300. Because we didn't have time to train for it, nor did we get the equipment for it. So he says, I didn't know that. He said, when's the next cycle? I said, Monday. This was Friday. The Sergeant Major, that training is canceled. Thank you, sir. So, first time I told that story, Jack shook his head and said, Sergeant Major, you're not supposed to do stuff like that. Well, I didn't. I got back and told Colonel Rao. Colonel Rao said, you can't do that, Sergeant Major. I said, no, I just did it. It's done. Sorry about that. And we went from there, okay? We went back. Then he said, you know, I got a problem. He said, I'm sending guys to the German Ranger School in Schongau. By the way, Schongau, not Schongau. Not umlaut. Schongau. And so far, none of them has passed yet. I said, would you like me to wash that piece of dirty linen? He said, can you? I said, sure. Can you get me 8 slots? I give you 8 slots. Got 8 slots. 8 guys went down there. 8 guys came back. They graduated from the German Ranger course. Not only did they do that, but they helped the Germans make it through. When they couldn't run with that machine gun, they picked it up and they ran with it. The only thing they didn't do, when they said, okay, crawl through this mud and through this culvert, then they said, I think I'm nuts. They just went around the obstacles, you know. And the guy in charge, by the way, is a major by the name of Rilla, actually, DET-A Rilla, who became a good friend of mine later on. And our guys doing the survival phase, they're all standing there, and they had to kill a chicken. But they hadn't thought the DET-A way. So the DET-A guy standing there, okay, now. And the guy that Stick calls MG, as German, whose name I won't mention, is still in the business, and I'm not going to blow his cover. Now, you can figure out who he is you read a certain website called Together We Serve. You can figure it out. But, we all knew who they are, because I selected 4 people to go down and talk to the company guys, and the company guys picked 2 guys. And one was Scotty, whose name I don't mind mentioning because he's dead, no longer with us. And the other guy is MP, and he's still doing his thing. Both of them good men, without whom the intelligence to do the mission would not have been there. They got it. And that was the beginning of that. I'm not going to go give you a rundown because there are books written as long as you put notes in. I have no problem with it. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about. He wants to know how he got into the job and started out with the Red Army fraction in Germany. Before all the Islam terrorism and before all that. And of course, our guys were training with GSC-9 and other people. And GSC-9 was very effective. General McMall, who was the Special Warfare Center commander at the time, who was an aviator also. But a good man, a bit overweight, but he came to visit us. Now, how many of you remember Hawkeye Thomas? You know Hawkeye? Well, Hawkeye had gotten a grenade splinter in his eye that damaged the nerve in his eye. So he had what you call a wandering eye. This was of a different nation. What he would do if he would look at something that one eye would do this thing, And we had just gotten the first Swedish submachine gun with the red dot, okay? So John McMall says, how does that work, Sergeant? And Thomas is the one who had it. He said, well, sir, you focus one eye on the target and the other eye is and McMall says, I don't think I can do that. And I'm standing behind him from chuckling, And I took him for a tour on Berlin by way of subway and buses and everything else. Went up to Kali V. Anybody who does not know what Kali V is? Kaufhaus is the biggest department store in the world. 6 floors. Remember what's the 6th floor? That's the 4th floor, right? Man, Fat Jack went crazy. He laughed. Come in, what kind of cut is that? What kind of cut is that? And we're jumping now a little bit into the controversy between 2 colonels, Charlie Beckwith, who was pushing Delta, and Bob Mantell, who was the commander of 5th Group at the time, who thought he had and he did have a pretty good bunch called, in terms of blue light later on, trained counter-terror operations. Training was good, they were very efficient, but they hadn't gone through selection. Okay. While this was going on, everybody knows, the general knows, if I'm a general, the more troops I have, the bigger general I am. And so naturally, General McMall wanted those people under him. And well, what he forgot is that Charlie Beckwith had the Chief of Staff of the Army backing him. We went with Charlie Beckwith. And we wound up with Delta. When Delta did the validation, we did it at the same time. Detachment A, although we'd had the missions, and the good Lord was a corporal in the Palestine National Guard. But we had to do validation with them. Delta got a plane. Well, they could take down the plane and in their sleep, dead drunk. They gave us a train. Oh my God. But anyway, we did it. Read the book, he'll tell you about it, tell you something to talk about. And Detachment A rose to the occasion, as they always did, and did the mission. And of course now we were validated. I was all along. When GSC-9, actually during the Munich Olympics, right? When the Munich Special Police had the terrorists in their crosshairs, but they were not psychologically prepared to pull the trigger and blow them away. You can be the best marksman in the world. If you're not prepared to kill, you're not a sniper, and you're not a warrior. That's what happened. That's why athletes get killed, and they shouldn't have. So the Germans organized GSC-9 and trained them. Where did they get their information? From the SAS, from the Israelis, and groups that had experience. So when the Germans took down the plane, they said, oh, we got to brief everybody. And by the way, the only guy, Colonel Ulrich Wegner, or Wagner if you want to pronounce it, mispronounce it, Ulrich Wegner was the guy, the only guy who carried the Magnum 357. The only guy. The female terrorist that was sitting in the toilet and got blown away, killed by 357. So you know who killed her. But it was a successful mission. So they called us, got from the SAS, Delta, Charlie Beckwith, Country Grimes were there, Olchewicz, Colonel Olchewicz, and Jeff Raker was there, and we stayed at the Steigenberger Hof in Bonn. First time in my life, I paid 100 marks to sleep. And General McMahon, of course, was there, and he invited us to his suite. So we were all in his suite, and I drank scotch. He had a big bottle of Chivas Regal, which I imbibed, and we ran out of ice. Now there's this guy walking around, black pants, white shirt, red vest, red bow tie. So out of ice, well, I'm not going to drink this Chivas Regal hot. I need some ice. I'll take the bucket, hand it to this guy with the red bow tie. He said, go get me a bucket of ice. I gotta go get some bucket of ice. And I finished drinking my scotch that night. The next morning, as we were going to the conference room to get briefed on that mission, here's this guy, an Air Force full colonel, in all his glory. And I said to Colonel Olchewicz, I said, sir, did you know this guy was a colonel? He said, sure. He said, why didn't you stop me when I sent him for ice? I said, Tom Rakers, you needed ice. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Yeah. When the time came for us to participate in Eagle Claw, I'm not going to go through the details because there have been volumes written about it. Chemo makes you dry, okay? Volumes been written about it. And I'm not going to go through all the details. But Colonel Olchewicz and I were called to the Pentagon, and they said, we need guys to do the recon. You guys have the training. You guys have the credentials. You guys do it. Give me X number of guys. And Colonel Olchewicz and I looked at each other and said, let's go have a talk. But he thought we were going to assign guys to him or attach him to Beckwith. He said, we're not going to do that. Besides, the credentials our guys have right now are not good enough. Let's insist on having a case officer from the company, real documentation that's backed up by someone picks up the phone and says, does this guy really have this particular job in your company? It is backed up. and then we'll let him go. I said, okay. So they assigned us a case officer. The case officer said, get me some guys so I can select them. So I sent 4 guys down to Frankfurt, and they picked MG and Scotty. They of course did the job. Scotty is so bold. Sometimes he had more guts than he did brains. Scotty was so bold. He walked up because our job was not the embassy. That was Delta. 50 people in the embassy. Our job was the 3 high-profile company guys that were in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They were in there. That was our target. So Scotty goes up there to the guard, talking around, how about a picture? I said, okay, the picture's got everything in the background, you know. You got the guard changing program and everything. They came back with an intel based on which the job could be done. Now the mission was moved a couple of weeks because we insisted on the intel being real and that the people were protected. Then Beckwith said, I don't have time to mess with that. So Colonel Oshwick said, that's okay, we'll do the mission of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so that's how that came about. We were that part of it, and Delta was the other part. You all know what happened to the rest of it, you know, with the Marines at a time when the Department of Defense thought everybody got to get a piece of the action. That's why we got to have Marines. And in every practice that we did, they never once, not one time, did they hit the target flying across the desert in California. Not one time. And we're going to trust them to go put us in the right place in Tehran. And you know, all the rest of it was tragedy. But it all worked to our advantage. You know, after that, the next one, we planned the second one. We took more people, more ammo, more explosives. Our own Blackbird flew to Pearl Bird Field, brought in some Army helicopter pilots out of the 160th. 160th then was part of the 101st. Flew the little bird, but we don't have room for a co-pilot. So you guys from DET-A are going to have to learn how to fly this in case the pilot gets shot. So we all got some stick time. Did we become helicopter pilots? Of course not. But we all learned enough that we could take that bird and sit it down without everybody getting killed. And move it, turn it around here. So we're getting ready to go. Oh, by the way, we pulled one live fire raid on the Florida Ranger camp, you know, and Joe Galvin watched it. He come back. Oh, what are you doing here, Jeff? I said, oh, you know, having a good time. He said, man, you should have been seen that last night. We watched Delta take down the Florida Ranger camp. I said, yeah, right, I know. I said, Joe, that wasn't Delta, that was us. And you guys looked pretty good, you know. So we had a lot of pyrotechnics, a lot of firing, a lot of live fires. And so the pilots were standing down for a week. So you guys stand down, do what you want to do, and we all go out west. And together with Delta, we'll do a rehearsal. And some guys that we used to irreverently refer to as the Secret Army of Northern Virginia, which belonged to Jerry King at the time. Okay? We were going to all meet up there. So while we were waiting to do that, we get a message. Back up, put everything on C-130, go back to Berlin. What had happened is Jack Anderson, you may remember the columnist, Jack Anderson, threw the cover on it. He said, this is underway. The reason all of us are sitting here right now, and we're on that particular mission, alive, thank you, Jack. A lot of us would not have made it back. I know that, you know. But we still would have gone. So Jack Anderson stopped that. That was the end of that, because you know the rest of the story. You know, we got a new president. They didn't want to mess with him. And we got our food. I think that's about as far as I want to go. The only thing I want to tell you, I have traveled all over the Far East. As you know, I live in Guam. I had a detachment when I was 15 years. I was the president of the chapter 46. And we had what we call a DLIC. Those who don't have an infantry background, that's a detachment left in contact in the Philippines. And I used to go over there for a meeting once a month, which was interesting because I'd make a trip to the Philippines. I'd bring San Miguel beer, you know, etc., and have a good time. And a lot of German expats there and in Thailand. And I like German food. I like German beer. I'm not all that crazy about German women, but I do like German food. So I go to these restaurants / bars where they had those things. And of course, there were a lot of Germans there. So they were surprised that I knew all the words to all the songs that they didn't know. How do you know that? I said, "Da was the baby singing in the Hitlerjugend." But make a long story short, I got tired of them asking me, am I American or am I German? You know, 40-year-old man asked me that. So I got naturalized. I raised my hand in 1960. You weren't even born yet. And I'm not even a German American. I'm just an American. You scratch the hyphen. Okay? And I got tired of doing that. In fact, when they started badmouthing the United States, I had the habit of giving them a taste of my fist, okay? And as I got a little too old for that, it got harder. So I stopped doing that. But they asked, you know, how do you feel about being an American citizen? I said, okay, I will give you a quote, and I'll give you the quote right now. A president who does not get quoted very often, George W. Bush. And a lot of guys who didn't like George W. Bush, who thought, especially abroad, who thought he was an intellectual lightweight. He was far from being an intellectual lightweight. But when he went back to Texas, he said one thing. Of all the titles that I've held, the one that means the most to me is that of citizen of the United States of America. I had that printed on a card, and if I got their stupid question, here, read that. Okay? And I've been a sergeant major and all kinds of sergeants. I've been an assistant professor. I've been an associate dean. That's what it's all about. That's all I want to be. Okay? And when I die, there'll be no black, red, and yellow flag on my coffin. There'll only be the sergeant stripes, which is why I rewrote the Ballad of the Green Beret in German. Okay. I translated that particular saying into German so I could hand it to these guys that want to badmouth my country. And that's the end of that story. And if this group meets next year and I am vertical, I will be there. If it meets 10 years from now, and by some miracle I'm alive, I will be there. And thank you, Bob. Without you, these things would not have happened. But I'll challenge any one of you to take any unit in the United States Army or other unit of the size, roughly 75 officers and men, that every year gets a group of this size together. You're not going to find it, you know. And we're all brothers. And for those wives who have stuck with us all these years, I want to thank you, because you're a big part of the entire operation. And right now, with my physical condition and health, without my wife, I couldn't make it. therefore, I salute all of you in Detachment A, and I am proud that for 4 years, 3 months, and 3 days, I have walked among you, and we have been one team. And thank you very much, and don't quit now.